Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how to change the engine oil pan on a Kia 2.4 liter. This is going to be for the Kia Sportage model, so let's get started. So my wife and I just purchased this car a few months ago and noticed that the drain plug was stripped during the first oil change. After changing the oil, the plug began to leak, which is why I'll be replacing the oil pan today. I know there are several other options to fix a stripped bolt, such as using a helicoil. However, in this video, I'm just going to be showing you how to remove and replace the entire oil pan. Go ahead and make sure that the car is parked on a flat level surface, and before beginning this project, it's a good idea to go ahead and drain the oil first. This will allow the oil that is higher up in the engine time to drain down into the pan, and will have less oil dripping down once the pan is removed. Once the oil stops draining and comes to a slow drip, go ahead and replace the drain bolt for now. Next, go ahead and remove the undercarriage cover so you can gain access to the engine. There will be several clips which can be removed using a flathead screwdriver, and you're also going to have several 10mm bolts. Once these have all been removed, lower the cover and set it out of the way for now. Next, we are going to remove the AC compressor bolts using a 12mm socket or wrench. Loosen the two long green bolts for now and just slide them all the way back. There are also 4 bolts holding the bracket to the oil pan.
There's one more right here.
Once the 4 bolts are removed, carefully remove the bracket out of the way for now. Next, there are going to be 2 12mm bolts that will need to be removed. Then remove all the 10mm bolts holding the oil pan to the bottom of the engine block. Once you get all the bolts removed, replace your oil catcher underneath, as some may still drip down. There's a small recess on the bottom of the block, as you can see, for you to put in a tool to separate the oil pan from the engine. I used a plastic scraping tool and just took my time gently hammering it until I had a large enough gap to pull it down. Due to the sealant the factory uses, when I pulled the pan off, it did slightly bend the original pan. However, this isn't an issue since I'll be changing the pan anyway. You may also need to use a rubber mallet to break it free. It's very important that all the debris and oil is removed before installing the new pan to ensure proper sealing. Once you remove the pan, use a safe scraper tool to remove any excess gasket material that was left on the engine block. Once all the debris and contaminants are scraped off, use a degreaser cleaner to thoroughly clean off any oil where the pan mates to the engine. Now we are going to take our new oil pan and apply a bead of Permatex Ultra Black gasket sealant on the rim of the oil pan. The bead should be on the inside of the holes of the oil pan, but should not go into the oil pan itself. And this took around 10 ounces of sealer. There were 2 recesses on the left side of the engine block that I also added a small amount of sealer to as well. Once you apply the sealer to the pan, ensure you follow your instructions regarding how long to let it set. For the Permatex, you only have about 5 minutes to get the pan in place. Take your new pan and gently line it up with the holes and place in a couple screws to keep it from sliding around. Then go ahead and replace all the 10mm pan bolts hand tight just until you see a small amount of sealant starting to show. Since the sealer is still setting up, I suggest waiting at least a full hour before torquing the bolts down to spec. Go ahead and hand tighten the two 12.12mm bolts as well. Once you waited a full hour, you can now safely torque the 10mm bolts down to around 8 foot-pounds. Then torque the 12.12mm bolts down to 20 foot-pounds. Go ahead and reinstall the AC bracket and then replace the long green bolts and tighten them up as well. And replace the four 12mm bolts. And torque them to around 15 foot-pounds. For this gasket sealer that I used, it does suggest that you wait 24 hours before adding fluids and operating the vehicle. So we're going to let this set overnight and then we're going to fill it up tomorrow. Alright, it's the next day and it's been just over 24 hours, so now I can add the fluids. But first I'm going to go ahead and change out the oil filter since I'm adding fresh oil. So I'm going to take the new filter and I'm just going to add a little bit of oil before reinstalling it. Then just screw it on hand tight only. You do not need to over tighten. It's a good idea to go ahead and clean up any old oil from underneath, as this will also help you determine any future leaks down the road. Next, we're going to go ahead and add the engine oil. For this engine, it uses 5.1 quarts, so I'm going to be using this entire container, and I already added the 0.1 quarts to the oil filter. Go ahead and check your oil level and ensure it's within the full range. And then replace the oil cap. Go ahead and visually inspect the new oil pan and ensure there are no leaks. Once everything is good to go, replace your undercarriage cover using the 10mm bolts and push clips, and you're good to go. Alright, well that's how you change the engine oil pan on a 2.4 liter Kia engine. If you found the video helpful, feel free to give it a thumbs up. And as always, thanks for watching.